to this.
Oh, you just pressed mute.
I press mute.
All right.
Helen.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Well, Helen's wheeling her way
Oh my gosh.
into this. We're all wheeling our way into this next session.
What do you mean, Dr. Mahmood?
Oh, well, glad you asked. Well, it's about life, you see. Life is like a giant wheel. Isn't it, Helen?
That was a tenuous link, but yes, it kind of is.
Yeah, what is the wheel of life? I mean, I know in The Lion King, you got the circle of life, haven't you?
That's true. We could have a song. We could have a song about the wheel of life.
Did Elton John do that?
Yeah, he did.
Do you know all the words to that song?
I wasn't a fan of Lion King. Also sad.
Have you not seen
I was
the
like,
second
no.
one?
It wasn't.
No.
It, was it? Yeah.
Have you seen? There's a new one called.
Oh,
What's it called? Mufasa.
Mufasa. No.
Mufasa.
Oh, I've not seen that.
It turns out, actually, that for those who are interested, that The Lion King was Mufasa was the Lion King's brother.
Okay.
I will explain.
You can't remember the
Is there a twist?
Yeah, well, they're not really related because he was adopted.
And they used to be best friends.
They used to be best friends, and
Oh.
actually, Scar, who later became known as Scar, his dad didn't like. So basically, I
hope there's relevance to this.
We're all rating for the.
So I think the way it works is that in The Lion King you have Mufasa, the dad, and Scar, his uncle, so-called uncle, brother. Simba's uncle. We better start this.
Right, let's go. Let's start and
The circle of life.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do
Not circle of life. We're doing wheel of life
Wheel of
today.
life.
Yeah. I'm going to leave Helen to explain what that means because I don't know what Tal was talking about.
But segueing from Tal, yeah, I guess it could be a circle of life. But the wheel of life, I guess, is a tool that I use in coaching sessions, one-to-one coaching sessions, and people can use independently. That is, I think, really helpful to get really clear on what we want out of life and help us get a bit of focus. So, you know, those times where we think, where am I going? I feel a bit aimless and, you know, I'm just kind of, life is unfolding in front of me rather than me being intentional and choosing where I want to go. So the wheel of life is really simple. It just needs a piece of paper and a pen, and you draw a circle, chop it up like a pizza into slices. And in each pizza slice, if you like, just pop in an area of life that's important to you. So that could be family, friendships, travel, career, learning, environment, hobbies, anything like that, finances. And then to have a think through, where are you right now in relation to that particular area, and have a really good think about it. And scoring it can be really useful. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is I'm consistently happy with that area of my life and it's where I want it to be, where are you for each of those areas? Or how much energy am I putting into each of those areas on a scale of 1 to 10 can just give us some data that's quite useful. Tal, I feel like you've got a question about our circle wheel.
I was going to ask, actually, you know that, I mean, I like the pizza analogy. Obviously, I don't eat pizza.
Food related, yeah.
I'm on a low-carb diet for those who
just the toppings,
following my glucose monitoring posts.
Were you about to say like and subscribe?
But how do you know that pizza thing? How do you portion the slices?
Oh,
Are
they
dependent on time, or like you said, energy, or how much thought that you put into them, or how important you think they ought to be, but isn't in reality? I don't know. What metric do you use when you're putting numbers to those slices?
Sure. Well, they are all really great questions. So when we draw it, when you can proportion the slices, but I find it easier to just have 6. When you can have less, you can have more. Same sized slices of pizza, if you like. And then it's the questions that are really important. So how happy am I? How much energy am I spending here? Those kinds of open questions allow us to really reflect. And then the really useful bit is that we can develop action plans from that. So say in terms of hobby or fitness or anything like that, we might decide that that's something I want to work on. I'm a 2 out of 10, where 10 is I'm really content with that. So what would get me from a 2 to a 3? Okay, well, if I went for a walk once a week, I think I would feel a bit better about fitness. And choosing small goals that would help us move on a little bit rather than something humongous, like I'm going to run 20 miles every other day. It's just something small. But it gives us something to focus on. And it's quite visual. You can have your pizza on the wall and look at it every day and pick small actions to just help get us moving.
But actually, maybe we can pick up on that. This is linked to some of the NHS productivity stuff. So it's about being more productive at home or at work and stuff. So the gym thing is a good one because like everyone knows, oh yeah, you should do exercise and diet, and we do a lot of stuff around that.
Yeah.
But when the time comes, you can make your pizza slice in your wheel of life, and you can apportion 20%, whatever, to exercise, whatever. But the truth is, like, doing it is kind of a little bit different, isn't it? Because you find like a 50,000 excuses not to do it, don't you? Like you say, oh, this or that. I'm not sure. Would you, if you had that wheel of life on your wall, do you think that would help change your behaviour?
I think it forces you because you know where you are at the moment, and is that visual reminder to say, actually, I want that to be, 100% or whatever percent you want it to be. So I know what I need to do to get there, and I want to see that change. I want to see, to be able to see that difference.
Just by having a.
I think it helps because I think when you thinking through it, like thinking about where you are at the moment, because some people think of where they are at the moment and then you think about where you want to be. It's kind of what we were talking about yesterday about the values, values that are important to you, but then kind of also the values that you want to be important to you. So thinking, just looking at that and saying, it's quite hard, isn't it? Because you kind of think, well, I do a little bit of that, and it's hard to say what you want to be compared to where you are.
But pretend, if we link it back to values, so it's pretend, like, say, fitness or being healthy is a value, but actually, and then you put it on your wheel of life. So it's always going to.
Yeah.
But you were saying last time, Helen, that actually values are not what you think; it's what you actually do, how you feel in a certain situation, isn't it? What makes you feel happy, what makes you feel sad.
Kind of rules for life.
If I go to the gym and I feel sad, then that's not a core value, is it?
That's probably situational. But I think you're totally right, Sarah. It's when seeing progress, I think, really helps people to go, I've said to myself, I want to walk once a week. It's a small goal and I've done it. I feel good. I've got momentum. And I think you're so right, Tal. Just sticking something on the wall doesn't always mean that therefore it's solved and we do it forever. Defining health for us, if we're using that as an example, I think is really important because that's different, can be different for everybody. What do I mean for Helen living a healthy life, and me to get really clear on that? Because quite often, if we're not doing the behaviors, sometimes we're just a bit disconnected from our why. Like, why is it important for me to be healthy? I'm just seeing it as something I've got to do when I'm tired on a morning and I've lost why. And when I think about why, and I want to be strong and I want to have energy and I want to feel good, when I start thinking about those things, it comes alive a bit. It isn't just an action that feels tricky to do.
One thing we've found with patients actually is that they often don't do things for themselves, but they do it for either their parents or their children generally.
Yes.
And so you're saying work on the why. So basically spend ages and ages and ages before you decide on what your 4 or 6 areas of priority are, and then stick it on you.
actually, another thing that kind of visualizes things is like having a vision board.
Yeah.
So people do it like early on in the year.
What's the vision board?
So you basically think about what you want to become.
I can handle one coach. I can't handle two.
You're outnumbered.
Coaching.
You kind of think about all the things that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And who you are as a person, the values that are important to you. And then you create, like, for example, you think, okay, I want to be really like fit and healthy, and actually my thing is to go for walks or whatever. So you get a picture of trainers, for example, and another thing might be, oh, I really want to, I don't know, learn a skill. I want to learn social media. So you have like a little social media stuff on your board, and then you create this visual board. And then that is you. So that's your vision, that's your goal. And this is kind of who you are as a person. You stick it up, and then there's a constant reminder of who you want to become.
Images and stuff.
Images, make it like really creative, anything you want. So I think that was, again, back to the, really, is it quite physical, like, you know, visual, and looking at it and reminding you all the time about what's important to you. And I think it keeps you on track when you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think seeing something visually, and people enjoy the creative side of that. It might take you 15 minutes to do your wheel of life, and if you want to spend longer on it, brilliant, but it's the essence behind it that's really important. And sometimes being accountable to other people can help. We all work differently in terms of our motivation and discipline, and motivation and discipline, we have to draw on both. Like, sometimes we are motivated and something really gets us going and think, I'm going to go do that thing, and then sometimes motivation pulls back and discipline has to kick in, and then sometimes the motivation comes back. And it's not about being perfect with this stuff. You know, it's really hard to be 10 out of 10 in every area of your life all of the time. This just gives us an opportunity to be intentional about it and kind of synthesize where we want life to be. And so having accountability partners can be really helpful. And that sounds really formal, but it can just be saying to a friend or someone in your family, right, I really want to walk once a week for the next 3 weeks. If I start to wobble, just hand me my trainers or whatever it might be. I'd really appreciate your support. And so those bite-sized pieces of brilliant, I've done it 3 times, I've achieved something, that feels so good. And from there, we can do other things rather than beating ourselves up all the time. Oh, I said I was going to go to the gym 4 times a week for 6 months until my holiday, and I haven't done it. And then we start to feel a bit kind of demotivated, don't we? And our energy leaves us.
And accountability partners can do that thing with you, can't they? They can go on that walk with you. They can go in with you. How do you set realistic goals? Because the other day, a few weeks ago on Sunday, I made a list of things to do, and it was Thursday, and I still haven't finished that list. I'm not sure I finished that list. It was about 2 weeks ago. How do you put a little bit of reality into those things?
I think there's something about understanding how we work and our patterns. Some people shoot out of bed, have loads of energy in the morning, and then peter out in the afternoon. For other people, they take warming up to the day. So it can be really just interesting to understand what's our natural energy pattern and way of working. Not that we can always work like that, but I think it really does help us. And picking really, if we find ourselves procrastinating, which I think all of us do, we kind of kick the can down the road, don't we think I'll do that later, and these things grow in our minds. Sometimes, and I certainly use this, is just pick the smallest thing, like getting the file off the shelf onto my desk means I've started that thing, and not making it huge, just saying I'm going to spend 20 minutes on this task and then I'm going to stop, can really help us face the thing that feels humongous, and then we're in. And generally it's never as bad as we think it's going to be. It's just that fear of deep diving into it. And there's another concept I quite like when it comes to prioritizing and kind of trying to get through everything that's chucked at us: rocks, pebbles and sand. And again, it's quite visual, so it really helps me in my mind to think, okay, what do I want? And that can be out of my business or out of my college year or out of my day. What's the goal? And then the first question is, what are the rocks that are going to help me get there? And imagine you've got a glass vase in front of you. So it's, what are the things that are really going to help me achieve that thing? So there are rocks. So if I do that, that will directly help. If I do that, that will directly help. And if I do that, that will directly help. So we've put our rocks in the jar. And the next question is, what are the things that aren't maybe directly really powerful, but maybe kind of important, not really connected, but are important. And they're like the pebbles. So we kind of pick up our pebbles and sprinkle those in. And the sand is the nice to do. So we can probably fit a bit of sand in after that, maybe even some water. So we're putting the important things in first and then adding the other bits and pieces. Whereas, and I know I can certainly do this, I can start with the sand or the water and go, oh, that's exciting and fun. It's not going to get me where I need to go, and it's not helping me achieve, but I'm really drawn to do that exciting thing. So I fill my glass jar with sand, and then I'm sat with my rocks at the end of the week or the month or the year going, they're not going to fit in. So trying to think at the beginning of the day, what are my rocks today, can be really helpful.
That's really helpful analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know what, whenever you see like before and after pictures, it's really interesting because you look at that and you think, oh, that's amazing, but no one actually thinks about what that person's been through to get to that stage, and what they would have, you know, because all those habits, there's that book, isn't there, by Atomic Habits by, and what you were saying, sometimes actually incorporating things within your daily routine might help kind of.
Well, just really quick, how do you do stuff which you know is good for you, but you don't really like doing it?
And what's an example of that?
Using your rock thing, say if one of your rocks was to go to the gym, and you think, yeah, that's a rock, and you think, oh, I'll just got to do this. I've got to paint the wall. I've got to do 50,000 things that excuses. Not. How do you do stuff which you know you should do, which is on your wheel of life, but you don't really want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, that does happen all the time, doesn't it? And I think there's a question about how important is this to me? And because sometimes we're doing things because we feel we should, and other people have said it'd be a good idea. So I think it's not necessarily around fitness, but sometimes it's good to think, actually, I can feel I'm resisting this thing. What is important to me about this? And then that can help us either reconnect and go, if I really want that goal at the top, then I have to do this. And I can see why there's going to be some benefit. It's when we're just looking at the action that feels painful. So I need to do 100 sit-ups. Oh, in isolation, that just feels like I do not want to do that. If that is connected to something exciting and where I really want to be, and I really want to be there, then we're more connected to doing that behavior. Plus, is there another way of doing it? Does it have to be the 100 sit-ups, for example? Or is there more than one way to chop this, something that you're more excited about that will get you to that goal? But checking the importance of something, and is it coming from me, or is it a goal I've lugged around for the last 3 years that actually has lost its excitement for me and I need something else? Because we can definitely do that. So I think that's really important. But something that really helps me, I think, is, I guess it's 2 sentences, that our habits create the quality of our life and our thoughts create the quality of our life. And if I had to distill a lot of the conversations in coaching and other areas to do with people and psychology, if we've got habits, consistent habits that hold us in a good place, that's what creates the reality of our lives. It's not the things we do sporadically. It's the way we live our lives. That's what other people see to be our life, is the result of our habits. Plus, as we were saying in the other podcasts, our thoughts, the quality of our thoughts equals the quality of our lives. So if we do have thoughts that don't feel so good and are negative and going against our confidence, then the quality of our life will represent that. Whereas if we can have good thoughts and train ourselves to do it, some people definitely think other people are just born to think positively and it's just not something I can do. Again, thinking in a good way, not all of the time, but being able to get yourself back to positive thoughts is a habit and a skill that we can learn.
That's really good advice, actually, because in general practice, we see a lot of the things that you say to people around diet and exercise, they kind of know anyway. And I think it's, from my perspective, I think it's okay for people to, like, not to judge people, not to just say, look, we're here when you need us. It's like, like, otherwise, and to make those small changes, otherwise just becomes, you see the GP and then they just tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that. You kind of know that anyway, and
Yeah.
you don't need to be made to feel worse than
Oh, that's
you
so
feel
true.
already.
Yeah.
And it's better to just say, look, just like let us know when you are ready for anything. There is this interesting thing, Helen. There is this concept called Get It Right First Time, which is a big NHS kind of push for basically supporting behavioural change, and they say, oh well, telling slightly chubby people to lose weight is a good way to change people's habits, and I'm not entirely convinced.
Actually, you know what? Yesterday, I was speaking to someone, and her GP had told her, actually, your BMI is high and you're obese, and she does not look obese. So, and that caused her to actually do something about it, because someone telling you.
Yeah.
So she didn't know. No one around her would tell her anything, and the doctor telling you that you need to.
Do you really think she doesn't know?
No, she was shocked when the doctor said that. So she was like, I need to do something about it, and it's forced her to go and walk more. But actually, her GP didn't say. Her GP said it's okay. It's not like a big thing, but just try something small. So just walk a little bit more. Just do a little bit of this. That slight little change.
And I think
I don't know, Helen. I think it's. I suppose it's how you say that, how you frame it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of things like this come down to that. I would call it the relationship puzzle. It's who is the person in front of me and what do they need from me? Because some people will need the data and the facts to go, oh, okay, I can see numbers and facts, and that's how I'm wired. And if I see numbers and facts, that will galvanize me into action. For others, that would move them away from action. They need a softer, I'm here when you're ready kind of approach. And that's the emotional intelligence piece around anyone that works with people, whether it's sales or GP or coaching or anything like that. And coaching and the health sector have merged in, and you guys have done this lots, health coaching, which is that concept of working with patients rather than saying, take your tablets, Mr. Brown, repeatedly when Mr. Brown isn't taking his tablets, being able to say, tell me about how you take your tablets, what's your routine, where do you keep them, etc., etc. Because quite often why Mr. Brown isn't taking his tablets is deep down in those questions. And if we can work that bit out, we can probably help you do the thing that's going to help you. But if I just keep saying, take them, we just get stuck. So coaching has made its way into the health sector in quite a big way, in changing communication when useful. It's not for every conversation, but it can be really helpful to explore a little further.
Yeah, I think if you're very ill and stuff, then obviously that it is not relevant then. But actually, most of the really big important things in healthcare are the chronic things, aren't they? They are things around diet and exercise, and that is stuff that lends itself to sort of non-judgmental coaching.
You mentioned that actually sometimes people do it for other reasons. So like for your kids, this example of a friend, like she would go for a walk with her daughter. So it's kind of like they're bonding time at the same time, and she gets to go to the park. So, and you mentioned like, painting the room or something. You could do it with someone else, make it, really fun and interesting rather than something that you don't want to do.
I'd rather paint it than go to the gym.
Oh, okay.
And have a think.
Make it into a workout.
That's a good new concept. Yeah, there's something there.
So Helen, can I ask you, so for me personally, I'd rather put pins in my eyes than go to the gym. And I've tried different things, and morning, evening, trying different times. And
why the gym? Can you not do something else instead?
I think that's my natural habitat. I feel like that's where I belong, I used to go before, used to kind of enjoy it and missed it.
What happened?
Well, life. The wheel of life in the way.
Yeah, it's. I think you're absolutely good to challenge, Sarah. Like, why the gym? Because sometimes we do pick a solution and think, well, that's what people do in this scenario, but actually it isn't the one for me. So I think that's really great to challenge. Am I doing the right thing to get where I want to get? Equally, the internal part of that, because that's the behavior part. That's the bit we can see, the external part. The other bit is the internal part, which is our beliefs around something. So, for example, if we've set the goal of, I need to go to the gym to get fit, lose weight, whatever it might be, but our belief really deep down that we might not even be aware we hold is, it's not going to happen. I can't do it. I don't like gyms. I can't understand how the result's going to get there. We're never going to do it. So sometimes, especially in the coaching sphere, yeah, we might look at behaviors and actions and what's needed to move things forward. But it's always interesting if any of us are stuck to kind of do that deep dive and go, tell me a bit more about what you think about fitness, health, gyms, etc. And generally, if you talk enough, you come across something that is the sticking point. Because a really useful formula, I think, is that our beliefs affect our feelings that affect our behaviors. So if I have that belief, my feelings are going to be a certain way about going to the gym. So my behavior will be a certain way. We can just make ourselves do the behavior. But if we go back to belief and shift that to be something a bit more helpful, our feelings are different and then our behavior is different. So there's maybe two ways of looking at it.
So let's play that one through then. So my belief is that I used to enjoy the gym, and I think the main reason the gym thing is because I feel you get quicker results. Technically, on paper, you would just wait. Don't pile in.
Say anything.
It's 2 against 1 there. I just feel like I need Gym Buddy to back me up here. But so you get quicker results, and you get so that's kind of a belief, but the feelings around kind of going to the gym are filled with sadness and tears.
Yeah. So there's no wonder you're not springing out of bed and like getting your gym kit on, Tal.
I tried first thing in the morning, last thing at night. Yeah, it's just, and so the behavior is not only not going, but also feeling bad about yourself.
Yeah, it is that shame spiral, I think, isn't it? When we go, oh, I've said I'll do something and then I haven't, and how that can feel. And I guess, in terms of the belief of the gym is a quick result. If your belief was that if I go to the gym once, I will look and feel exactly as I want to, you probably would race there.
Yeah.
But it's defining quick. And are you really bought into that? What does quick look like? How many times would you have to go to get what you wanted to achieve?
Also, it depends. Like you mentioned, like Gym Buddy, right? So you have someone to go with, and you know that there's going to be times when you really don't want to go, but that other person is expecting you to go with them, and you have to go. So I think that helps. And actually, once you're there and you go and work out, you feel great, right? Please tell me you feel great. All right. You feel like you've done it, and you're like, it wasn't that bad.
I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
But so that means that if you are happy when something's finished, that must mean you didn't like that thing that you just did. Do you mean you think, oh, glad it's over? No.
But then don't you feel like you've achieved something? Like, oh, okay, like I've done my gym session and I've, it wasn't as bad.
I can do one-off things, but not that regular stuff. That's the problem, isn't it? And like one-off, you could pull off a lot of things, but not when it becomes routine. The habit thing that you were both talking about, that's really hard. But,
and that could be an individual thing. And I know people, like you say, Tal, it's like, routines don't work for me. I'm not excited by routines generally in life. And I feel claustrophobic. It's too predictable. So by my nature, it's going to be hard for me to sustain that. So again, that can be just looking at working with people's personalities and just knowing I'm going to have to shake it up every now and again. And I need to look at alternative options, because me committing to the gym for the next 20 years of my life 3 times a week probably isn't going to happen. And if I just try keep shoving that, I'm going to get stuck in that shame spiral. So I need to be able to think about this differently and work with my personality.
So in summary, I need to focus on the wheel of life and come out of this shame spiral.
And no pizza.
Yeah. Interesting though, it's you who comes up with the goal, right? So at one point you must have told yourself that, I want to go to the gym.
Because I used to go in the olden days.
So, yeah.
I used to.
It depends on your why as well, Tal. I think if we're being specific about you, it depends what the gym is going to get you.
Yeah.
Well, my why is only why not. is that a good
Probably needs
reply?
some exploration.
I'd like to work on that. All right then. So Wheel of Fortune. We're not Wheel of Fortune.
That's a
Wheel of Life.
now we're in a game show.
If you don't get Wheel of Life sorted, then it will be Wheel of.
Give it a go. Yeah.
Give it a spin.
Give it a spin. Yeah, could be a prize. Yeah.
So, in summary, Helen, we'll let you summarize it. Make a list of things. You want to summarize the wheel of life?
I do, yeah. So the Wheel of Life is a great tool to use with somebody else in your life, with a coach, on your own, to think about the key areas of your life, where you are, where you want to be, and what would help you move one small step closer to living the life that you want to live and feeling the way that you want to feel.
Perfect.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Helen.